Welcome back to the Make It a Great Day movement. Our focus is on making suicide a thing of the past. We are here on a mission. What are we on a mission to do? Make suicide a thing of the past. Actually, what we are is on a mission to help you talk about it, to help you realize that there's nothing wrong with the discussion. There's something wrong with not having the discussion. So without further ado, I want to talk to you and introduce you to somebody really special. And she's going to share with you and take us on a journey. Because when she told me this story, I was like, oh, I love that story. I want you to help people understand what a difference they make. So we're going to stick with that. Here we go. It is Shelley Roxanne. There's something about her that I want you all to know, that she's had some turbulent times. She understands the journey, and she's going to help you understand the journey. And she has popped in over here. So we're going to, without further ado, stop the sharing and then introduce you. Yay, there you are. I love that necklace.
Hi there, thank you. Hi, Jackie.
Yay.
Hi, everybody.
So Shelley, yay. All right. What's the best thing that's happened to you so far today?
Being here. Jackie, I seriously am so honored. You have a panel of incredible people. And the beauty is that this, with suicide prevention, it's not a one size fits all. And so all of your speakers are bringing their own perspective. I was enjoying Anil, and I can't wait to hear everyone else. But, it's a different perspective, and, I'm going to bring that as well. So it's beautiful because someone will hear something that will change it all for them, that will make that shift. So I'm excited about your summit. It's exciting.
We're going to have you bring us into your world, because there's always a story. Yes. There's always a story. You were not born who you are right now. Yeah. So just give us the intro to you, okay?
Well, I was 5 years old, and it was my first speaking engagement, if you will. It was unpaid, unfortunately. and it was at church. It was Easter Sunday, and it was my turn to give my speech. This is the big speech. And they gave me 3 words that I had to say, because it's Children's Day every Easter at the church. And so it was my turn to go. So they put me up on the stage, and I stand there with my little patent leather shoes and lace socks and my bonnet. And they said, okay, you're on. And I stood there with wide eyes, looking out at this expectant crowd of people who were expecting greatness from me. And they began, because of my silence, to call me out. Come on, Shelley Roxanne, you can do it, girl, come on. And I stood there, and I froze. And I looked at my daddy, who was stage right, and I ran over, and I grabbed his leg, and I hid behind it where it was safe, and I didn't come out. And for the next 35 years, I metaphorically hid behind my daddy's leg where it was safe. And I took opportunities that I would shine, yes, but not playing full out. I played it small. Yes, I did very well. And for many people, they said, what, you had an incredible life up to that point. Yes, for most, but not for me. I had calls. I called them, we're called to do big things. And I didn't answer those calls. I was answering someone else's calls. Until one day, in October 2005, I get a call, and the people say to me, we think you would be incredible with your own show. And I was thinking, television, finally, okay. And they said, we were thinking radio. And I said, radio? But I don't even listen to radio. Who would listen to me? You can't see me. All this would be wasted on radio. And I thought to myself as I contemplated another call that came, and I said, you know what? They have Oprah. They don't need me. Oprah's doing big things. Oprah has a voice. She's out there helping people. They don't need her. They don't need me because they have her. And so I sat at my computer on October 2005, and I thought October 25th to be exact, 2005. And I sat and I said, okay, I'm ready to type the thanks but no thanks. I'm going to stay here behind my daddy's leg where it's safe type letter. And I turn on the computer, and Jackie, across the screen flashes, civil rights icon Rosa Parks dead at the age of 92. Well, I cried. I cried for hours sitting there at that computer, frozen in space. Why? Yes, it was sad that an icon like Rosa Parks had passed on. Yes, it was sad because I did have the opportunity to meet Rosa in my life. And she was an inspiration, but it was more because it was at that moment that I felt that Rosa was passing me the baton, saying, Shelley, it is your turn. Change the world. Stop playing small. Stop hiding out. Show up in a bigger way. And that was the defining moment for me. At that moment, I decided to take the opportunity, and therefore, the very next day, the Shelley Roxanne show, Optimistic Radio, was born. And the show was an immediate success in a New York market. It was huge and wonderful, and I felt good. But it wasn't until about 4 months into the show, unbeknownst to me, I'm on the air, and unbeknownst to me, a man who was distraught with his life. He lost his children. His wife left him. He lost his job. His family had forsaken him. He felt there was no reason to live. And this man drove to the Tappan Zee Bridge. Anyone who's familiar with New York knows that that's a famous bridge in New York. And he drove there with the intent to jump off of the bridge. And as he reached the bridge, he gets out of his car and he stands there and is leaning on the car door with the window open. And he is contemplating his whole life and all of the things that have happened to him. And he's ready to jump. And at that moment, he hears a voice on the radio. Guess who it was? It was the Shelley Roxanne show that was on the radio. And he heard me say, it's not what it looks like. Nobody puts baby in a corner. The best is yet to come. And he dropped to his knees and wept. And when he came to himself, he jumped in the car and he turned the car around on that bridge and drove straight to the studio. And he asked them, please, I need to see her. And they said, well, she's on the air. He says, but I have to tell her she saved my life. She talked me off the bridge. So they come and they whisper to me and they tell me a little bit. And I say, bring him in. So we brought him into the studio and literally did an intervention and saved this man's life that day. And Jackie, I tell you, it brings me to tears every time I think about it, because had I not answered the call on my life, it would not have saved his life. I was so worried about who would listen to me, a small town girl from upstate New York. Who's going to listen to me? They have Oprah. But guess what? They weren't listening to Oprah. He wasn't listening to Oprah that day. He was listening to me. And it taught me that we each have people who are assigned to us, even if it's just our family or a coworker or one person, one life that we can save by answering the call. So ever since that day, I've been committed to answering the call on my life, because you never know whose life that you could save. Because that day, 2 lives were saved, his and mine.
That's a beautiful, beautiful understanding of the story. Shelley, thank you so much for sharing that, because the value of simply answering the call.
Yeah.
You lived that it's not what it looks like.
Exactly.
Because radio looked like the wrong platform for you, because
Absolutely.
all this would have been.
Right.
I do love that. I mean, that's like, this is the Shelley Roxanne move, you know?
Oh, hello.
All this would have been wasted.
Wasted.
But all of that would have been a distraction for that man. He just
Correct.
hear your voice.
Correct.
So sometimes we don't, I mean, it's true. We really, all the time, we don't know who's listening.
No, we don't.
I'm never going to know how many people listen to my show, whether it's the radio show, the podcast, whether it's one of the summits, whether it's an interview like this.
Yes.
We're never going to know.
Yeah.
And
the beauty, though, is that it doesn't matter how many. It can only be the one.
Oh, yeah.
The thing. We get caught up in the numbers. Oh, you know, and you know from broadcast that, you know, it's all about the ratings and all about how many. And I learned that day, it doesn't matter how many, because that one life, someone's father, someone's son, someone's husband, a person was saved. I was forever changed by that. Knowing that my voice and me answering the call when it didn't make sense. We sometimes have to follow that nudging. We have to follow that internal thing. Yeah.
I'm going to pull you back, because I want the one thing to stand out. Here's the one thing.
Yes.
The one thing is that the life you saved was your own.
Yes.
And that's the only life we have control over.
Absolutely.
And this is an important piece of the conversation. We have a growing number of people who have been left behind by someone that they care about.
Yes.
And that's the gentlest way to say that they're grieving. We are all grieving something, but my story is a little different. My daughter survived.
Yes.
We are not here to save other people. That is a benefit of saving ourselves, of
course,
our calling. It's a side effect, people. If you get into this because it's about other people, you're missing the point.
Yes.
You know, Rosa Parks did not do what she did to free people to be able to sit wherever they wanted to. She did it because she was too tired and in too much pain to give up her seat to somebody who didn't need it.
Right, but the thing about Rosa is that she said, it wasn't that my feet hurt. It wasn't that I was tired, physically tired. I was tired of giving in.
Mm-hmm.
Right? She was tired of giving in. And that's what so many of us get to in our lives, that we just are tired of giving in. And we are pushed and pushed and pushed until we get to the point where it's, are you tired yet? But as you said so perfectly, it really was about me being saved that day on the bridge. Yeah. It was me being saved. And as they say on an airplane, put the oxygen mask on yourself first. You are in no position to help anyone else breathe if you can't breathe.
You know, that's the thing. If you can't breathe, if you can't stand up for yourself, how are you going to help somebody else stand up for themselves?
Correct.
If you can't speak up How are you going to help somebody else speak up? And the answer is we try to make it about other people all the time. And yes, giving is really, really a wonderful thing. It's one of the areas that Anil was talking about giving being one of the 3 G's. But you got to have something to give.
Yes.
And the only way you have something to give is to get yourself back in the middle of your own life. Right. So what happened after that day for you?
Well, wow. I mean, after that day, I had a newfound mission, because to show up again from that 5-year-old girl who was hiding behind her daddy's leg, and still sometimes, if I'm completely honest, she shows up. And it's still, to this day, a challenge to call myself and say, come on, Shelley Roxanne, you can do it. Show up for your own life in a bigger way. And it is because of me showing up for my life that gives other people permission to do the same. So I've been, just doing incredible things and have had awesome opportunities. I've had a huge, huge life because I made the decision to show up in a bigger way and to answer the calls that come now. I very rarely say no to a call. And unless I cannot physically do it because I am overbooked, otherwise I am showing up. I'm going to show up.
And that's one of the beautiful things about you and your spirit, is that you do, honest to God, you just show up. I mean, you showed up in my life, and we've been on this journey ever since together.
Wow, I know it.
So we're doing the Jackie and Shelley show. Welcome. This is the optimism versus overjoyed. Okay, because that's my next book. Is actually, we just got the title set. So we'll be talking about that later on, but that's the next book, not the one that's coming out next month, but the one, by the way, people, if you start writing, it's like becomes an addiction. Okay. So
it absolutely does. I agree with you.
All right. So what have you been writing lately?
Well, I have my #1 best-selling book, The Frustrated Believer, What to Do When You Don't Know What to Do. And if I tell you, Jackie, boy, was this book written for such a time as this. There are so many people in the world today who just don't know what to do. So this book, which is my 4th baby, because, I call it, I have 3 actual babies and then birth this, because I believe that we have these things in our belly. So you are pregnant, and congratulations on your pregnancy. And when I
that's going to start some rumors that are just not good.
Well,
we're talking about books.
Purpose. We're talking about books. We're talking about books. But it is a birthing for us. And when I gave birth to this book, I literally wrapped it in a baby blanket, and I had a little baby stroller and put it in the stroller, and I was strolling around. Seriously. Because
about you.
Yeah, I mean, because, and you can see me doing that. I'm that silly. But that's how important it was, because I knew that this was going to be something. And so I went on a tour, a national tour, when we could still, travel. And I was in different bookstores and things. And this one lady, and I have to say, she must have been, 80-year-old little white lady who came running into the store, and she's hysterical. I'm standing at the front of the store. She's crying. I need to hug her. And I said, well, is it okay? She says, I just want you to know that your book helped me so much because her son committed suicide. And she said that the book helped her. The chapters that said nobody puts baby in a corner. The chapter that said everybody plays the fool sometimes. The chapter that says it's not what it looks like. All of these things were a blessing to her and brought light to her. And again, it was like that moment on the bridge, because again, I got that feeling, keep going. Because it's one person at a time that I am inspiring. I felt that I traveled all the way to California, to the middle of nowhere, this bookstore, this Barnes & Noble bookstore was, that she ran in. And then there was so much to it because, again, as this country is going through, you know, a race war, if you would want to call it, I knew it had nothing to do with that. Because I was a little Black girl from upstate New York, and here's this older white lady from the sticks in California. And I was able to say something that helped her through one of the most horrific times in her life. I'm telling people not to get caught up in what it looks like. It's not what it looks like. Love covers a multitude of things. And I just decided to love on people. And as a result, I am feeling the love from so many people all over the world.
You know, both that statement, the two sides of that statement, I'm just going to put it out there. We're going to shine a really big light on it.
Yes.
Because what you just said was that your focus is on being in this loving state, on being in this loving energy towards other people.
Correct.
And I'm going to put a word in there. Because of this, you are able to receive love from other people. And that's my belief system. Okay, that's the world according to Jackie. And so people can argue all they want with me, but this is my world, my perspective. It is because you're willing.
Yeah.
When you call answer the call, I call being willing. It's the same energy.
Yes.
We just come from different parts of the world.
Sure.
You want to talk about an unlikely two-step. We are an unlikely two-step.
And I love it.
From the upper ends of New York. I'll bet you lived in the same town most of your life.
I sure did. I sure did. I sure did.
You went to school with the same people, right?
Same people. Went to school with the same people. Absolutely. I literally, my father was, we used to tease that he was the president of the area because my father was the mayor. And so I was, the mayor's daughter. So I could pick up the phone and call the governor. I could pick up the phone and call, a congressman or a senator, and I could pick up the phone, anyone. And so living in that same town with the same people who knew me, I go into a store or anywhere, and I felt so, again, safe, right? Safe. Mm-hmm. And it wasn't until just a few years ago that I decided to run away from home. And I moved to Florida, to South Florida, for my boys to go to a private high school out here. And it was the best thing that I ever did, was running away from what was safe. And trying something new and exploring something new and reinventing myself. And I'm still in that process. I think we will all be in a process of reinventing every morning. We get new mercies and a new opportunity to reinvent ourselves. Nothing is permanent.
Well, there is that. Nothing is permanent. And yet we get so attached to the idea that things are.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So we're going to kind of go all over the map here. Your whole topic is this thing about optimism, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So what I was talking about, though, with the unlikely odd couple, we're going to call the odd optimistic couple. Because while you went to school with the same people and your daddy was the mayor and you knew who you were in that community.
Correct.
I went to kindergarten on 2 continents.
Oh, wow.
My daddy was in the Army.
Oh, wow.
I spent my life always being the new kid in school, usually coming in the middle of the school year, without an idea of who I was in a community.
Yeah.
Because I didn't have a community.
Yeah.
Once my parents divorced and we were no longer part of the military community, we were still small towns and new kid on the block.
Yeah.
So the fact that our lives intersected is not, and we're both in Florida now, and yet we met through something in California.
I know it.
So guys, open to the miracle.
Yes.
This whole show is a miracle. This connection with Shelley Roxanne is a miracle. Open to the miracle. Go where you are called. I'm so glad you answered the call to be here. And as a matter of fact, you get to tell them because I know you got something for them. All right.
Course. I always come bearing gifts.
Of course. Yeah, we all come bearing gifts. So the beauty of this journey that we're on and our mission to help everyone understand that make it a great day is a decision that you can make every day. It's a decision that you can bring to any circumstances of your life. And actually, before you talk about their gift, I want to just say that the gift that led to this whole experience was something that I had labeled myself for a long time and couldn't talk about it.
Yeah.
So the labels we put on ourselves, my label was mother of a suicidal teen, mother of a suicidal child. That was the label. That was the Band-Aid that it was like, I didn't know how limiting that was for me because I couldn't talk about it at all. It wasn't my story to tell, is how I sort of thought about it. And why would I want anybody to know that? You know, I came from a family of you don't air your dirty laundry in public. And in my family, there was not much dirtier than anything that was of this realm. If it started creeping towards any kind of visible vulnerability or instability, we didn't talk about it.
Yeah.
What I discovered underneath that bandage was that it was hiding a wound of I'm not good enough.
That's right.
And it was that healing journey that I had to go on before I could stand up and speak out on this topic. Shelley, your journey is no less dramatic than that. And we ended up, I think, understanding we had a similar wound.
Yes.
That most of us do. And there's no shame in this game, guys. This is just the human experience.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And that's what you just said was so key, because that really is what the core of it is that feeling of not being good enough. It comes down to self-esteem.
Yep.
And self-esteem comes down to ego, right? Essentially, that is what it is about. And I was not, in my story, was not feeling good enough to be out there. I thought, you know, they have Oprah. I mean, what kind of a bar to be compared with, you know, that I was comparing myself with. And yet, there is no competition in us being who we are. Jackie, you being you, there is no competition. Me being me, there is no competition. Not even Oprah competes with Shelley Roxanne being Shelley Roxanne. And that's once we step into that and realize that we are as unique as our fingerprint, as our DNA. There are nearly 8 billion people in the world, and no one, not even identical twins, have the exact same DNA, have the exact same fingerprint. So that is how unique we are. If we knew that, we would value ourselves more and know you are enough. And us both having that common experience, although the actual physical experiences were different, the core was the same.
The core was the same. All right. So I'm going to do two things. One is I love to play games. Okay. So we're going to play a game.
All right. I love games.
And the second thing we're going to do is we're going to address some of the commentary that's coming up in the chat, because I think it's an important conversation.
Okay.
So the first game, actually, here we go. First game. First person to raise their hand is going to get a 3-minute peacefulness meditation. How to be peaceful in 3 minutes or less. And so there we go. We got Michael. All right. Hey, Michael, you know what else you're going to get? We're going to talk about what you put in the chat box. So there we go. Fast on the draw. So Katie's going to make note. Michael, make sure that you go ahead and put how you want that delivered to you. Put your email address in the chat and we'll take care of you. So this concept of correctness about being positive. This is really, really an interesting comment. He says we judge ourselves about having good and bad emotions, and it is about not acknowledging emotions as being valuable, that all of them are valuable. So the commentary here, and I know that you wrote a book in here, Michael. We're going to have to talk about you being a writer for the Make It a Great Day series, because this is a book. So I'm not going to read it all, but what I am going to say is that it looks to be really well written. And then he said something about discomfort, that we don't get to have a meaningful life without discomfort. So Michael, this I am going to read. Discomfort is the price, the admission for a meaningful life. Just ask the butterfly. And so there we go. And it's about being able to be there. So we're going to talk about this, because the other thing you said, Michael, that I thought was brilliant was about being there with someone in their own pain. Unconditional acceptance through unconditional love of what they're going through. And that's interesting. So the beginning of your comment was about sort of the new political correctness, if you want to call it that. This whole positivity movement, and I got a lot of opinion. I know you do too. Yeah. So we're going to take you guys on the difference between being positive and being optimistic. That's a good discussion for us. So thank you, Michael. We'll get there. And the other is absolutely when you can be uncritically self-accepting of yourself, then you can extend that to others. It's just like what we were talking about a minute ago with love. You've got to have it and be willing to give it out, but you got to have it before you.
Correct.
Yeah. So Correct. We're going to talk about some ways people could start having more optimism. Go for it, Shelley. Bring us on.
Well, first of all, Michael must have read my book, because I do have a chapter called Life is Like Photography We Develop from the Negative.
Ooh.
And that, while I really wish that were not true, it is true. It is often the times when we think about those defining moments for us, when we think about those difficult times in our lives, those were the times that we grew the most. Mm-hmm. Those were the times that we made the shifts. When everything is going well, we're not so inspired to make changes. Okay? And so, as you said before, when nothing changes, right? And we are here in this dispensation in time to grow. Mm-hmm. We are supposed to grow. And therefore, it does require, unfortunately, that the negative, what the seemingly unlovely, I call it, because I don't even like to call anything negative, but the seemingly unlovely situations that life presents us with are the ones that cause us to grow the most. Mm-hmm. So if you are having a lot of seemingly unlovely situations in sequence, you are growing. And like that butterfly that was a caterpillar, you cannot get help sometimes. It is to break out of the cocoon yourself. Because if you are cut out, if you are helped out, your wings get clipped and you're unable to fly. So there are times that we may feel, why is no one helping me? Because you are to break out of this yourself. This is yours. And as a mother, I will tell you that this is the most difficult thing to do, is to watch someone go through their development process and not want to jump in there and save them, but to watch them in love and support them and encourage them, but not jump in there and try and save them. That's not our job.
So that's not our job. And that's true whether we're parents or whether we're partners in business. And
Relationship.
Yeah, any relationship. And it's about the discernment. So being able to figure out, where the boundaries could be. And this is back to the conversations that we could be having.
Yeah.
And that particular skill, which is so necessary. So this is a fun conversation. I promise. The difference between optimism and positivity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, based on what Michael said,
Uh-huh.
the belief system that we've got this push towards being positive at all times.
Yeah.
So what's your take on that?
Okay. My take on that, and that there is a big difference there. And I get that a lot because I am someone who challenges norms, and I do unconventional methods, and I challenge things that I say are unhealthy for all of our existence. So those things can be perceived as negative. But people say, what? You're the queen of optimism, but you are exposing negativity. And so I say, well, there is a difference, because optimism is to me, a way of life, but it is about changing the way you look at things. It doesn't mean ignoring the things. It means changing the way you look at things so that those things that you look at can change. But we see what's happening. We're not with our heads in the cloud of us optimists. We absolutely do. But we also are able to see the possibility in there. We're able to see the blessing in the situation. Being positive is just, many times ignoring what is. That is not what an optimist does. An optimist changes the way they look at what is, and what is changes.
It is true. Our perspective matters.
Yeah.
Right? If there's one thing that matters in the world, it's our perspective. And I've got a picture of two guys on a train looking out different windows. One of them seeing just bare rock and gloom, and the other one seeing open plains and sunshine, and they're on
Correct.
the same train.
Same exact.
Looking in different directions.
Yeah.
And what direction we look at something, what direction do we choose? So the fun thing, all right, so you do a lot with speaking.
Yes.
All right, I'm going to give a perspective. Here's how the negative bias of the brain shows up, because that's what we have. We're going to notice the negative. We're supposed to. It's a survival thing. Back in the day of our caveman ancestor, we do have a common ancestor, Shelley. Yeah. His name is Og. He lived a long time ago.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. And the natural negative bias of his brain kept him alive, because he only remembered the things that were bad. He had very limited memory capacity, and it kept him from eating things that made him sick the last time he ate them.
Yeah.
Things like that kept him away from shaking bushes, because they couldn't afford curiosity. Curiosity really did kill the caveman back then. You get too close to a shaking bush, you become lunch. Yeah. So this was a fun thing. So when Og and this natural negative bias showed up, the train that I was riding with this thought has left. So just so you all know, it's not your imagination. I went off on a tangent and it left with me. So give me back the last thing we were talking about.
Okay, so we were talking about the difference between positivity and optimism.
Yeah.
And you were going to bring some,
there we go.
a different piece to it, yes.
Yeah. You're going to notice what's not right.
Correct.
If you don't notice what's not right, you can't change it. You can't fix it. The difference between positivity and optimism is positivity is like a demand that says, even though it's not right, I'm going to be happy. Optimism is I can change this. One is
But
forcing an emotion to change. The other is accepting the ability to affect change.
yeah, neither one of them, and again, as you said, this is the world according to Shelley, right? So
lay it on me.
For me, positive versus negative is not a mindset. Optimism is a mindset, and it is a choice.
Mm-hmm.
Because as I said, what is. So when you say, okay, you see something, what is, well, I'm just going to see that as positive. That, yes, can be seen as an optimistic decision. However, optimism is able to look at the is, which may be negative, and can, with our own mind's eye, change the way we're looking at it and see the beauty in there. As I said, I've had many clients who've called me and said, they lost their job. They were the sole breadwinner and they lost their job, something horrific. And I said, congratulations. What do you mean, congratulations? This is horrible. No, because you didn't like that job. That was someone else's job. Now you get a chance to start that business that you wanted. You get a chance to do the things that you wanted to do. I'm not going to should them because I know how you are about
busted.
See how I caught myself on the should. There'll be no shoulding on Jackie's show. So and so this gets you to that. Many times we are forced into situations, and that's what optimism and having an optimistic mindset is able to do, that you can quickly look at a situation and say, wow, I'm going to search for the silver lining here because I know it's there.
That's the belief system that serves people, is when you come from the knowing that it's there, the silver lining, the gift in the grief.
Yes.
So something is there for you, even if you can't see it yet. It's the decision that something is there for you.
Yes.
All right. Well, I know that I opened a loop and haven't closed it yet, which is I promised we would talk about what you have as a gift for them. And before I can lose that train of thought,
yes.
Yeah. Describe it. Tell them.
Okay. Well,
everybody, this is like that moment on Oprah, and you get a car. Okay. Well, this is your moment, Shelley.
Oh, there you go with the Oprah things again. Now the pressure's on. It's not a car, everybody, but it is free chapters of my #1 best-selling book, The Frustrated Believer: What to Do When You Don't Know What to Do. So, in terms of what to do, you go to SheRox, SheRox.me/free gift. And you are able to, with a fun app, read those chapters of the book, which honestly lay the foundation. I'd love for you to buy the book, but you don't have to, because you get pretty much everything you need to know in those first 3 chapters. So this is exciting. I cannot wait for you to get this. You all, I heard you, Jackie, that you have a goal of 100 million, and Neil, I forget, maybe it was $1 billion or whatever.
1 billion.
Right. Well, my mission is, I'm doing it in bite size, and so it's positively impacting 1 million people in 2020.
All right. Big, hairy, audacious goals.
By giving this gift, it will definitely help me to reach there. And you have helped me by sharing your beautiful, wonderful platform with these great people to also do the same. So thank you, Jackie.
Oh, well, you are most welcome. And so in the chat box is the link. Everybody can grab Shelley's free gift. And I highly recommend it, because we all need some solid places to stand, especially when we're looking to change.
Yeah.
We need places to just know that we're not alone.
Yes.
So for all of you all, oh, and I've been remiss. For those of you that are in the VIP, you decided that you wanted to be and show up as a very inspiring person. Know that Shelley's in that VIP group with you. So you'll be able to ask questions. You'll be able to interact with her. That's one of the beautiful things about the community that we are creating. And make no mistake, people, we are creating a community. This is not a one and done. I can even give you the next dates that we're doing this again. Why? Because this is the conversation that is truly matters on all levels. It's not sad and down. It is about the fact that suicide prevention is seriously fun. If you're having fun, you're pretty much suicide proof. So we're going to make this life as much fun as we can make it for you all and for everyone. So if you haven't been there, I have been remiss. Now, wait a minute. Zoom has new rules. For anybody on this call who is hosting meetings, this is the peek behind the curtains. If you want to give somebody a link in the chat box and you want them to be able to click on it, you absolutely must put that http:// in front of it.
That's right.
Otherwise, it is not a clickable link.
Exactly.
So here we go. This is, oh, by the way, the Teen Suicide Prevention Society is a nonprofit. Okay, the IRS hasn't blessed it yet because the paperwork, nothing's getting pushed through Washington right now. But the nonprofit corporation's all set up, and all of the proceeds from the VIP upgrades go to the Teen Suicide Prevention Society. And the way you get there, if you haven't already gone there, is to go to the TSP show, the Suicide Prevention Show.org, O-R-G. And yeah, they've got the link for your gift in there as well. So both of those links are now down where you can see them. And here we go. And so Michael, yeah, diversity of emotion. You're right. Michael, you are going to love this show because we are going to be on an emotional roller coaster, and it's an intentional emotional roller coaster. We are talking about happiness. We're talking about optimism. We're going to go inside the brain and start working with how the brain really works, because we need everything we can get to be able to reach the people who need to hear this because they don't know. You know, Shelley, we don't know that we need more help. And I'm a firm believer that we all need more help.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's just go with getting what we need so that we can give what others need. Yeah. There we go. That's going to be the new tagline. You come here to get what you need so that you can give what others need.
Another chapter title in The Frustrated Believer, Give What You Need. I tell you, Becky.
Yeah, well, that's the short version.
Give what you need.
Yeah, I know. We are twins, aren't we?
We are.
All right, so here's about being outrageous. Optimism is an outrageous emotion. Why? Because most of the people around you don't know what it feels like. So we're going to invite you into the feeling of optimism. We're going to invite you into the feeling of gratitude, optimistic gratitude. That's what the caveman's name is now going to mean in my brain. Og, optimistic gratitude.
Awesome.
So, Shelley.
Yes.
Anything you wish that I had asked you?
Oh, wow. I would say that if I wanted to leave anything with the people, if you are going through anything right now, and the Queen of Optimism could give you, a tip, I would say to accept that everything that happens is happening for you and not to you, and for your good. It is a gift. And if we unwrap the gift, we can get the lesson and we can grow. So that's really how I would wrap this up, is to recognize, as no matter how unlovely it seems, and we're all collectively going through some unlovely, turbulent times right now. But I am confident that it is for our good. And we're going to grow from this and be better.
There we go. We're going to grow from this and be better. All right. So, dealing with what is kind of happens. Choosing to grow through it, not just go through it, choosing to grow through the change, choosing to grow through the challenge, choosing to grow through the joy and the optimism, because we can use it all. We can use it all. Yeah. And that's the joy and the optimistic output. What if you knew you could use it all? The ups, the downs, the goods, the bads, the negatives, the positives, whatever language you're used to around life. What if you knew you could use it all? So on that note, everybody's going to get a chance to find out more about you by going to that website. And the website, once again, is SheRox, SheRox. Can't imagine where you came up with that, Roxanne.
Right.
SheRox.me.
Yes.
/free gift. Yeah. And so there we go. And there it is. It's in the chat already. Woo! All right. So thank you again, Shelley, for spending time with us.
Thank you. It was my pleasure. I always love hanging out with you, Jack.
I love hanging out with you too, Shelley. Hang on, everybody. The ride gets more interesting from here.